Days Gone announced for PC alongside other Sony titles coming in the future. And are we seeing a PlayStation VR2? More of that and others on the Tech Summit Podcast, episode 30.
Yeah.
I'm Chris.
I'm Francisco.
And of course, if you guys are watching on YouTube, as I've always said multiple times, social media will be right down here at the bottom of the video.
And don't forget that if you are listening on other platforms instead of watching, then don't forget to check out the description of any of those platforms to find the links to all of my social media until Christopher adds his.
Yes, of course.
Yes. But
Ending.
with that said, let's get right into the news.
Yeah.
There we go.
So,
Wonderful.
British GQ. We never thought we'd be using them as a source on this podcast. But GQ in the UK did an interview with PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan, and he's revealed a decent amount of things for the PlayStation brand coming forward in the next, we'll say, year, give or take.
Yes, at minimum.
Yes, at minimum. Now, granted, the very first thing that they asked, of course, is what's going on with the stock of the PS5. And he didn't really say a whole lot about that. He talks a big game about how Sony sold so many PS5s.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's great. They made so much money, all that stuff. And we're trying really hard to increase our stock, obviously, with these uncertain circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
You know, blah, 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 blah. PR speak.
Yeah.
Usual PR speak when it comes to the stock on PS5. All he basically says is, stay tuned.
Kind of on topic, but also not. It just reminds me so much of Jensen from NVIDIA.
Mm.
You know, like when he was questioned about, NVIDIA's shame corner here.
Yeah.
When he was asked about stock moving forward and things like that upon the announcement of that new mining GPU that is only going to be for mining, which are basically just potential RTX cards that are just being limited and locked into only being able to mine.
I see.
So they could be unlocked to be used as just regular graphics cards, and instead, like, that's just like what that's being used for. I figured that I should tell you because I never got to, and this is quite infuriating. But what's going on here with the PlayStation 5 stock is also, I mean, at the very least, like, even though he is bragging about it and everything, you know, like, oh, we have sold so well. In fact, we have sold out quickly.
He specifically pointed out that 1 in 4 people who bought a PS5 did not have a PS4.
Yeah.
I think we know how many PS5 purchases are, relatively speaking, scalpers. We're using this board all day today.
Yes, we are. I knew I'd left that button on there for good reason.
But of course, you know, that's the first thing that, you know, GQ decided to focus on. But that's not what we're all really focused on, the big news that's come out of this. And that is Gran Turismo 7 being delayed until 2022.
Woo! And that was a sarcastic woo, by the way.
This makes me really sad because I actually like Gran Turismo.
Uh-huh.
And Gran Turismo 7... I mean, actually, I'm not too sad about it because I don't have a PS5 yet. I don't want to get one anytime soon.
Right.
So, you know, Gran Turismo 7 being pushed back due to these unforeseen circumstances, and they specifically said it's because of that. You know, it's unfortunate, but, you know, if they have to delay the game a little further to make the game as good as possible and to have it fully released with all the content that we're hoping for something that's, you know, a numbered Gran Turismo installment.
Right.
Keep in mind, we did not see a numbered Gran Turismo installment on PS4. We got Sport.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we had Gran Turismo 6 was a PS3 title.
Oh.
So, you know, to give it a number like Gran Turismo 7 implies a lot of big things because, you know, Gran Turismo Sport was initially criticized for having like significantly less cars, way more focus on the esports side of things, you know, not as much single player content, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha.
So, you know, that is what it is.
Yeah.
But of course, that is not actually the big news.
Right. There's actually a lot on the docket tonight.
The biggest one, I'm guessing, that we're all going to focus on.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to focus on is Jim Ryan has said very much out front that there are going to be more PlayStation exclusive titles coming to PC, starting this spring with Days Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's celebrate. So neither
I
Christopher
could
or
play both of
I.
them. Yeah, I could.
Yeah, there you go. I paid $600 for this board. It better play 2 sound effects at the same time. Good.
I wish I could like adjust them though.
For verification. No, yeah, like it's just one slider for all of them.
Yeah,
One for all.
unfortunate. But
One-
you were saying.
One ring to rule them all. So what I was saying is that like neither you or I are really fans of Days Gone necessarily, but that is a game that a lot of people are still looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, Days Gone was received pretty lukewarm by the critics. Like I think its Metacritic score was like 72, 73. Like it was pretty mixed reception. But a lot of people really liked the game. Like it has a bit of a cult following at this point. And so like the idea of Days Gone coming to PC in on itself is something that's really exciting for a lot of people.
Right.
But of course, that's not the big thing that people are really focusing on in terms of this. It's more the implications.
Yeah.
They are saying that more than one game from PlayStation Studios are going to be coming to PC.
Yeah.
We've already seen Detroit Become Human come to PC. We saw Horizon Zero Dawn come to PC.
Yes.
We're about to see Days Gone come to PC.
Yeah.
Does this mean that in the future we see Spider-Man? Do we see Bloodborne, which I know you're going to be a huge fan of?
Yeah, I
Do
think
we
so.
see the frequently rumored but never confirmed God of War on PC?
I feel like that's going to take longer to come, but I do agree that the implications are there. That these games, I mean, it seems like they've been setting this up slowly but surely to have it so that these PlayStation exclusives can finally start coming over to PC. So, like the same thing that Microsoft has been doing for a long time. They have their games on PC and they also have them on Xbox. And that means that you do have more than one way of playing these games. And in this case, considering that the Vita is not something that we're going to be talking about tonight because
Absolutely not.
it does not appear to be on Sony's mind at all. There's only one way of playing these PlayStation exclusive games, and that would be only through a stationary PlayStation, so PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you think that changes? Are you assuming that these games are like NVIDIA Shield or GeForce Now?
No.
Or?
No, not quite, but I mean, like you do have remote play right now, like with the Vita, and even well, not so much the PSP, but with like the PlayStation Vita, you do have remote play like that. And like I really would like them to do something similar to that, like to give us maybe a portable way of playing these games. Like,
Isn't PS Now technically compatible with like PCs and stuff like that?
yeah, but like, like that's just on PC still. Like you're probably still stationary.
Okay.
In that sense.
So here's the plan.
Yeah.
All right, you get a PS Now subscription so you can play PlayStation games on your PC. And then you get a GeForce Now subscription so you could stream your PC games onto your mobile device. Bing, bam, boom. You got some PlayStation games on your mobile device right there.
Oh man. All I'm hearing here is just lag, input lag.
It's funny too because I say that, but I'm pretty sure PS Now is also compatible with mobile devices. I'm gonna have to double check on that.
I mean, there is actually an app for Android that does let you play PlayStation. Well, like it lets you stream the PlayStation games onto your phone, and you can play them that way.
There you go.
Yeah, but it is so murky. It's not the best. Honestly, you will have a much better experience with something like GeForce Now. And yes, Google Stadia, but unfortunately, there are so many bad news surrounding that.
More on that in the future.
Yeah, more on that in the future. But with that said, there are a lot of exciting announcements here, like a lot of implications for, PlayStation games
titles.
coming to PC.
Yeah.
Exactly. The thing that caught my attention the most, and we actually talked about this earlier, is the fact that not the possibilities, they are actually working on PSVR2, even though that's not the official name, and they are sending out dev kits. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Yes. So that means that PlayStation VR is making a comeback, baby.
To the applause of, honestly, very few people. I imagine.
It's probably going to cost as much as a PlayStation 4.
Realistically speaking, I do think like the big thing coming out of this really is just Days Gone coming to PC. Because that comes with the implication that Bloodborne or Spider-Man come to PC as well.
It
Like,
does target a much bigger audience for sure.
it is an audience. It is something that people care about a lot more because. Okay, so I'm not gonna say that VR gaming is a PC exclusive thing.
It's just more niche.
It's just VR itself is already really niche, and it must be doubly niche to have VR tied to a single system.
To a console,
Yes.
specifically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like PSVR2 coming around is interesting. It's very interesting. I'm very curious to see what they do with it to make it more appealing and to like really innovate on like all the advancements that PC VR has been making.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that Jim Ryan has confirmed in his little interview here is that they're working on a single cord setup for the VR.
Right. Which, you
Which-
know, it might not be the wireless setup that we are so happy to see from the Oculus Quest 2,
Yeah.
but it is still an improvement in comparison to previous generation VR headsets, which have been notorious for requiring a bunch of wires.
But it's also making me curious. Remind me, does a PSVR, the original one, does it have like built-in cameras for head tracking, or do you have to use sensors around the room?
I do think that you have to use sensors.
That feels like the
for a
most
second.
obvious step up then. Just built-in head tracking.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
feels like the obvious next step for PSVR if they want to compete with current VR headsets.
It's definitely the future either way. Like that is how VR should be enjoyed. But hopefully they will aim for a wireless setup in the future.
Or
Instead,
PSVR 3?
yeah, like maybe for the PlayStation 6 or something.
Eh.
I think by then that technology will be more than developed.
Honestly, I feel like at that point we'll know whether or not PSVR is even a thing that will survive. Like this is their.
Fair.
You mentioned before, we're not focusing on any Vita or portable news whatsoever because there's no Vita 2 or anything like that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is their last chance to establish VR as a viable thing for PlayStation brand.
Mhm.
You know, it's like with portables. PSP, they did it. It sold relatively okay. They tried it one more time. It didn't sell as well. Mostly because of their fault. And then they stopped trying. PSVR is going to be the same thing. PSVR
they
did
did.
not sell all that great on the PS4 because of how expensive it was,
Mhm.
how the exclusives weren't all that great.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, with PSVR 2, this is their next and probably last chance. Like, if PSVR 2 also bombs, they're probably never going to try it again. They're going to think of it as a dead gimmick,
Mhm.
and they're just going to move on to whatever the next thing is.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that said, I do want it to succeed, and I do want it to do well under the right circumstances. Like, if it is overly expensive, I'm already kind of expecting it to cost as much as like an all digital PlayStation 5,
400.
400. I think it's probably what it's going to cost. I'm not saying that that's that reasonable, but I do think that that's just what it's going to be.
I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say 3.
3?
Yeah, I'm going to put it at around Quest 2 prices.
Quest 2. Okay. Like, if they do plan on making it that competitive, then that would be fantastic. That would be great.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, if anything, because I love my Quest 2, and one of the things that I love a lot about it is that I can use it, you know, wirelessly with like whatever the overlords over at Facebook allow me to play with my with the battery life that's already on the Oculus Quest 2. But I can also connect it to my PC through a wire, and there's also a way of actually playing your PC VR games wirelessly with the Quest 2. So like that possibility is still there. It is something that Facebook, Oculus has already accomplished. So I think that Sony is more than capable of making something work.
Yes. Now, of course, we don't know too much when it comes to PSVR. He didn't want to reveal any details, including what the name is. PSVR 2 is just what we're calling it. You know, everyone's calling it.
Yeah.
He specifically said, we're not going to call it anything right now. He specifically said that. And so we don't know details when it comes to specs.
Right.
We don't know details when it comes to price.
Yeah.
We don't know details when it comes to release date.
Not even like materials or anything like that.
We don't. Well, we can assume that's going to be made out of plastic at some point.
Yeah, but like, what if it has some hints of carbon fiber?
And we don't even know studios who are getting these dev kits or who are going to be working on this stuff.
Right. He
Now-
just said that it's getting sent out to
Yes.
studios, but
Now-
he didn't specify.
Ryan did, in fact, say that he wants that they intend to reveal more details later on this year, hopefully later on this year, and like
Mm-hmm.
probably a PS experience stream, kind of like how Nintendo Direct does their own stuff.
No, yeah. I mean, considering that E3 is as good as gone, and then yeah, that's
Current
probably
moment,
what
yeah.
we can expect.
It's some days gone. That was a
Ah.
reach.
Go
So
ahead.
so for PSVR then for PSVR 2 then, who do you think will be developing games for this system, like exclusives?
Exclusives.
Because I'm thinking of one particular developer, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Exclusives. That's actually pretty tough.
Like
for me to
exclusive
say.
titles that are either launch titles for the VR2 or relatively close to launch, within launch window, like as in within the next year after it launches.
I'm not too sure because I don't really know which companies focus primarily on VR games.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't really have an opinion piece on that. But what do you think?
I'm gonna make some people mad here. I'm gonna make quite a few people mad here. Capcom.
Why would people be mad at that?
Because one of the big things that everyone complains about when it comes to the PSVR and how it failed and all that stuff is that even despite its failures, Resident Evil 7 VR is still tied to PlayStation exclusive. I fully expect Resident Evil 8 to be a PSVR 2 exclusive.
Ah,
Or, Resident Evil 8 VR, which I'm sure is going to make quite a few people unhappy, especially when they realize that they don't get to experience their waifu in VR.
I mean, I suppose that's one thing that is likely to happen.
I think that is that could probably be the flagship launch title for PSVR 2, at least from a third party perspective.
Okay.
Like, because the thing is, if I'm hedging my bets on this just because 7 VR is not yet available for any other platform.
Mm-hmm.
It is still a PS exclusive. And so, like, usually these things are timed exclusives at this point. Like,
Yeah.
it'll be exclusive to this platform for about a year and then it'll come out, elsewhere,
Yeah.
But the fact that they haven't done that for Resident Evil 7 implies that that's there to stay as a PlayStation exclusive, and that
For now.
8 Village. People say Village, to me it's 8.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's going to be the exact same scenario. I think they're totally making a VR version, and it's totally going to be locked exclusively to PSVR 2.
I do think that exclusivity is important in order for consoles to be able to compete against each other nowadays.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's also unfortunate when that system ends up failing and nobody
Mhm.
gets to experience it.
That is true. So like at the end of the day, it's really just the consumer that gets harmed by these tactics. But like from a business standpoint, it does make sense that they would do something like that because hey, we do have these VR games over on our platform. You're not gonna get that out of those nerds over at Microsoft, so you better get our VR headset. Even though I don't think Microsoft is working on anything
No.
actually yeah.
I mean, their focus was more like HoloLens and like the AR gaming stuff, isn't it? Or at least the technology for it.
Is HoloLens even still something that they're still working on? I haven't heard anything about the HoloLens for quite some time, actually.
Back to the
The
Tech
research
Summit
station. Yes, which is actually powered by a Core i7-4790, not a K, which is a quad-core CPU, 8 threads. And you found something, didn't you?
Yeah, according to CNET, HoloLens 2 was available. That's 2019. I see.
Huh.
It's 2019.
Huh.
But
I guess my point stands then.
I know they have mixed reality stuff going on though. Like whenever
I don't think that's Xbox related, though.
actually I think it is Microsoft related because in order
Microsoft, yes, but I don't think it's Xbox related.
Oh, I'm not even talking about Xbox specifically. I'm just Microsoft in general.
All right.
We were talking Microsoft in general.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure for a VR game to be allowed on, like, say, for example, Game Pass,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be compatible with Microsoft mixed reality devices, including HoloLens.
Okay.
So there is still support for it.
Okay.
Like, the reason why, like, Tetris Effect Connect came out on Game Pass a couple months ago, but it took a little bit longer for there to be VR support on it because they were working on the support for mixed reality devices.
I see.
Like, even though it was already set to go for the Vive, the Index, and Oculus, they still have to like make sure it works for Microsoft devices. So
Okay.
there is support. It's just not as like major of a support as like say for example PlayStation VR,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also not as like pinpointed, I suppose, because I think mixed reality for Microsoft is intended for like multiple manufacturers to make their own types of devices,
Gotcha.
whereas PlayStation VR is just Sony straight up.
No, yeah. I think that makes sense. It's more like a development kit for
It's not
whoever
cheap.
wants to mess around with that. They can, and it's certainly not cheap.
HoloLens 2. HoloLens
$3,500.
2. Yeah, that is not cheap.
Okay, yeah, PSVR wins.
To be fair, again, AR and all that stuff too, though. So like we're
Yeah.
like HoloLens 2. We're talking about like I wear it and then I see the table here and then stuff forms up on the table and it's all like, it's like those military commercials,
Yeah.
like all that stuff.
Yeah, like there's just a lot more to HoloLens than what there would be for PSVR.
There's
like
also-
HoloLens is meant for a lot more than just gaming.
Exactly, yeah. Like there's a lot of like architectural and medical uses for these things. Like this is like HoloLens is very much just an all-purpose device.
Right. And there's a reason why it is as expensive as it is. And I would imagine, well, not really more niche because it can be used for gaming. It's meant for much more than just gaming.
It has like a lot more of a business sort of leaning to it, I think.
Yeah,
Like a business and industry sort of thing.
Yeah. I would say so too.
But yeah, no. PSVR 2, flagship title at launch,
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 8 VR.
Resident Evil AVR. Okay.
Resident
You know
Evil
what?
8 VR.
I'm going to leave those guesses to you because, like, quite frankly, I cannot think of any studio in particular that would only want to develop a VR game just for PlayStation VR.
They have studios. They do have studios. I can see like a Sumo Digital doing something like that.
Fun.
Or maybe no, I don't think Media Molecule would make a game specifically for VR more than they would probably make Dreams VR compatible.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Like those are just some examples off the top of my head. Like
Mhm.
the smaller studios. Like I'm not talking about like Guerrilla Games or anything like that. I'm just talking like in general like smaller studios. Again, Sumo Digital, who worked on Little Big Planet 3. And I believe they also worked on Sackboy's Big Adventure like,
Mhm.
recently.
Okay.
Those kind of studios.
Well, Little Big Planet in VR would honestly be kind of fun.
It's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Sackboy game for PSVR?
I
on
have
PS4?
no idea.
I feel like they
Yeah.
must have been.
You would definitely know a lot more about that than I would.
I'm not a big Little Big Planet fan. I'm just
Oh,
that.
okay. Well,
I
I mean
played
that's a
it-
little problematic.
I played it when I was younger, but like I'm not like completely in the know of Little Big Planet games.
Now that's a hot take if I've ever heard one.
Is it
tonight.
really?
Yes.
The answer is no, by the way.
Oh.
There is not.
Okay.
But
Nonetheless, I am still very excited for
Actually-
PlayStation VR.
Little Big Planet on PC. Yes or no? Do you think that happens?
No.
No.
I'm glad that you didn't drop the mic, so thank you.
I didn't make a big statement there.
No, but
Uh,
it's okay.
No, but like I said, PSVR, there's a lot of like possibilities and like potential that can come out of it, but I do know that for a lot of people the big news really just comes down to more PlayStation exclusives coming to PC.
Yeah.
Which means that we're living in a world where both Microsoft and Sony games are going to be coming out on PC. The only ones who are not on PC, as we all would have expected, Nintendo.
Yep, of course.
Unless you emulate.
Yeah. Now with that said, that's actually one thing that I don't really see changing. I do see Nintendo sustaining that foothold.
Oh, yeah, no, Nintendo stays right where they are.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo does not. So the reason why Jim Ryan's words, the reason
Mhm.
why Sony is starting to enter the PC market is because they are realizing that obviously while it is really good to capture people by getting people to buy your consoles,
Mhm.
they also recognize that there is money to be seen in the PC gaming market who does not have an interest or desire or even the necessary space for a console, because a console requires like a TV, for example. If you don't have a TV,
Yeah.
like they recognize that there is an actual market of people who want to play PlayStation titles while not necessarily getting a PlayStation console.
Yeah.
Nintendo, on the other hand, either A, does not realize that, or B, which I think is more likely, notices but does not care because people are going to buy the systems anyway for those games.
Yes. And I will say, too, though, that like a lot of first-party Nintendo games do tend to take advantage of like Nintendo's own gimmicky features. Like, let's say,
Yes, there's that too.
3D rumble, motion controls, and things like that, which you usually wouldn't see on PC. And those games just wouldn't be played in the same way on PC. Like, they would...
And they'd probably be too lazy to do any major changes to the gameplay
Yeah.
and control schemes.
Yeah. And plus, like,
But-
if they ever were to bring it over to PC, they would definitely have their own launcher and storefront.
But my point is, oh yeah, they totally would do that too.
Yeah.
But my point more is like, let's look at it this way.
Sure.
Just to put it in perspective.
Okay.
Uncharted 4 came out in 2016.
Mhm.
How many people bought a PS4 specifically for Uncharted 4?
I don't know.
It's kind of hard to find numbers. There's probably sales numbers out there somewhere, but even then, I imagine a lot of people, like, they bought a PS4 expecting Uncharted 4 or anticipating Uncharted 4, but they probably did not buy it specifically for Uncharted 4.
Fair.
Meanwhile, how many people bought Switches or specifically Switch Lites for Pokemon? Way more.
Way more. Though I would even go on a limb and say that a lot of people got a Switch to play Mario Odyssey.
Pokemon is usually the biggest one, though. The 3DS was saved by Pokemon. The 3DS was doing really badly at the start. They dropped the price. It wasn't doing that much better. Then Pokemon X and Y came out, and it sold millions.
Yes.
Nintendo titles, specific Nintendo titles, including Odyssey, I will say including Odyssey, those are system sellers.
Yeah.
People buy a Switch for Breath of the Wild. They buy a Switch for Odyssey. They buy a Switch for Pokemon. They buy a Switch for Smash Bros. I bought a Wii U specifically for Smash Bros. I would not have bought a PS4 specifically for Uncharted.
Fair. There were also people that actually held off on getting a Switch because Breath of the Wild also came to the Wii U.
Yeah.
And they either had a Wii U or they just went out and bought one because it would just be cheaper at that point.
It's significantly smaller of an amount, though, especially
Yeah.
because like you see that these is coming out at the same time. It's pretty clear at that point that the Switch is the way forward. The Switch is the definitive version of Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was on Wii U pretty much, I think, exclusively just because they knew that they had to put it on there because they promised a Zelda game on Wii U.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if they could get away with it, I'm pretty sure the Wii U version would have been canceled. It would have been just a Switch title.
And they wouldn't have gotten away with that so well at the time. Nowadays, obviously, like the Wii U is dead, the 3DS is dead. Even though I would still recommend getting a 3DS. Like, if you do want to play 3DS titles, even just get like the 2DS XL. And
it has a huge library, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, like just,
But nevertheless,
homebrew
the point that I'm making is Nintendo does not have to try and reach out to gamers outside of their ecosystem because they know that people are going to join their ecosystem to play those games.
Exactly. They will go to them.
Another
regardless.
point. How many people bought Switches last year for Animal Crossing? There was a shortage.
A ton.
There was a shortage of Switches because everyone was buying them so they could play Animal Crossing while they were cooped up in their houses for reasons that are completely unrelated to anything we are going to mention on this podcast.
Exactly. So
They were all just really caught up in Animal Crossing. That's what happened. That's why everyone was stuck at home.
Yes, and there was also a pretty big shortage on Animal Crossing Joy-Cons, Animal Crossing themed Switches, and things like that.
The only thing that was not shortage was the game itself.
Yeah, right, because like you could still buy digitally on
Exactly.
like Mario All-Stars, which, by the way, did you buy it?
Not yet.
I bought it.
You did.
I did.
I'm considering it, but I feel like we are going to discuss that more as we get closer to that end date.
Sure thing.
We're getting closer. We are getting closer.
Yeah.
But so like Nintendo doesn't have to do that kind of stuff, whereas Sony, honestly, I would say even Sony didn't really have to because of just how much the PS4 sold and how much the PS5 is looking like it's going to sell. But I appreciate it as someone who is not trying to trip over himself to get a PS5, as someone who is not going to pay scalper prices for a PS5.
Yeah, right. What kind of scumbag would do that?
You're like I do not have any plans to play a PS5 anytime. Now, granted, that does not mean the new God of War is going to be on PC. That does not mean the next Horizon game is going to be on PC. That's not going to be the case. Like it is, in my opinion, also genius marketing to put games like, say, for example, Spider-Man or Horizon or God of War on PC to then entice people to buy a PS5 later on so they can play the sequels. It's like, oh, we really liked God of War on PC, right? Well, the new one, Ragnarok, that's going to be on PS5 Entertainment System. Now available all digital for only $300 by the time that game probably comes out.
Yeah.
Or the PS5 Slim. You guys want to pick that up?
Thing is, I don't see the shortages getting any better anytime soon. I thought that they would, both for graphics cards.
I want to think by summer PS5 will be starting to regulate.
Starting, sure. However, I think a lot of things would have to start getting back on track before that could even really start seeing like a successful resurgence in stock.
Right.
Because unfortunately, the hardware required in order to manufacture these is also in shortage, which is a big reason why. And going back to the whole graphics card conversation and GPU chips, NVIDIA is just making pretty dumb moves on their end.
Yeah.
Where they are prioritizing a different market versus the one that actually reps their brand and things like that. It is just going to take a while before, NVIDIA shame corner.
NVIDIA shame corner. Again.
Yeah.
Even when we're talking about Sony, we have to bring it back to NVIDIA.
Yes. Oh.
that is the Tech Summit podcast trademark.
Because I'm here.
We have to shame NVIDIA.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, within all, and we have to remember too, throughout all of this discussion we're having, PSVR, PlayStation games coming to PC, all that stuff, it is Days Gone. We have to remember it is in fact Days Gone.
Yeah.
To people who like Days Gone or like the idea behind it, I'm really happy for you guys. Congratulations. Really happy. I hope you guys enjoy Days Gone.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Enjoy it. It is not our type of game. I'm personally, I've been zombied out for a long time now, with the exception of Back 4 Blood when that comes out because it's the Left 4 Dead developers. Left 4 Dead is timeless for me.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead is always fun.
But yeah, like
even from someone like me.
But yeah, like other than that, I've been very zombied out. So Days Gone didn't really have anything to offer for me. You're not really the kind of person who plays those kinds of games anyway.
Not really, but again, like Left 4 Dead 2 was actually the game that I sunk quite a few hours on because like the multiplayer was just so much fun to me.
Right. So just so anyone thinks that we're just kind of like pooping all over Days Gone by not focusing on them whatsoever throughout this whole thing, we're sorry.
Yeah.
We are happy that you are getting that game. We're just looking forward to other games like Bloodborne or Spider-Man or there's a third-party one. But where's the 7 remake port?
I know. Well, that is still in the works. We will be seeing that eventually. Don't worry.
We're almost a year since 7 remake came out.
Come on.
All right. The timed exclusivity should be up. We should be hearing about it already.
Thing is, they are prioritizing the PlayStation 5 port, which is understandable.
I don't care. I have a PC. I don't have a PS5. Most people have PCs. They don't have PS5s.
Well, that's very true. Sorry, guys.
They might be able. They might only be able to run 7 remake at like 10 FPS on the lowest settings with that PC with the 1010 inside it. But it's still a PC. It's still a PC.
It's not even going to launch. I don't see that happening. But with that said, we have had a pretty great time talking about these things, and there's still a lot more to come.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited at the possibilities of those other things, those other games. I want to see. Ghost of Tsushima would be very interesting on PC as well.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to see that game being brought over to PC, especially somebody that did want to play that game, but never managed to get the game.
And Capcom, please do not actually put 8 VR exclusive to PSVR2, and please bring 7 VR to the PC. I want to play that. All right?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, look, that would honestly be great. I would love to play that on my Oculus, your Oculus.
Yes.
And with that said, thanks to all of you for jumping into tonight's episode. Episode 30, we have made it to
Made it
this episode.
3-0. If you guys are following us here on YouTube, all of that info is going to be here at the bottom of the video.
Indeed, and if you're listening on any other platforms that are audio only, do make sure to take a look at your description if it's offered down there, because we are going to have social media links down there as well.
Yes, and with that said, I'm Chris.
I'm Francisco.
And
Until next time, enjoy.
good night. Travel well.